Hey everybody, this is Marla K. Hope y'all are well. Got a war update that I need to share with you because this is really important and could kick off formally the next phase of this fifth generation warfare we got going on. So, Sweden has joined Nato. Hungary decided to go ahead and sign off on it. And apparently, Sweden is not prepared to be um, in war. So that means NATO is going to have to step up and provide support to Sweden should they be attacked. So this is something that you really need to pay attention to, because of the proximity to Russia. So it says Sweden's last war ended in 1814, and when the rifles and cannons it aimed at Norway fell silent, the once warring power would never take up arms again. For the next 2 centuries, Sweden embraced a policy of neutrality, refusing to take sides in wars or join any military alliance. It was a stance that kept peace at home and contributed to the country becoming a prosperous welfare state and humanitarian superpower. This remarkably long era of non alignment is coming to a close as Sweden joins NATO. The ceremonial formalities are expected soon after 18 months of delays, while Turkey and Hungary held up ratification and sought concessions from other members of the alliance. Sweden is now leaving 200 years of neutrality. And notice the timing, exactly 200 years. Y'all know for the demons, numerology is huge. So I don't think it's by accident. So it says Sweden is now leaving 200 years of neutrality and non-alignment behind us. Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson said after Hungary's parliament gave its approval Monday, overcoming the final hurdle. So it says it's a big step. We must take that seriously, but it also a very natural step that we are taking. So basically now what's going to happen is they're going to need weapons. And guess what? Guess who's going to supply them? Babylon. All right. So the other thing I want to share with you in war news is that P. Daddy said that if NATO sends troops to Ukraine, it's finna be on and popping. I don't know if you saw where Lloyd Austin, our Secretary of Defense, basically said that if that Ukraine can't lose, and so NATO would be deployed in Ukraine. Well, if NATO goes into Ukraine, it's finna light up Europe, basically. All the NATO members finna get it. And then y'all know what's gonna happen next. We're next, because we're a NATO member. So this is why you really need to be prepared for what's coming. A lot of people don't really pay attention to international news. They're still focused on national elections, and this thing can happen so fast because the rest of Europe ain't big as nothing. So it'd be nothing for um, Russia to go through there and do damage and come on across the water. Um, but we don't know with fifth generation warfare what that will consist of. So I don't know why they have these thing so big where you can't see the title. But anyway, Putin warns of nuclear war if NATO sends troops into Ukraine. The other thing I hate is the majority of the stories now you'll see are on Microsoft Start, which is Bill Gates of Hell's company. So you can't hardly get nothing now without Microsoft Start snatching it up, which I hate. So like if it's a story on Newsweek, Microsoft Start will snatch it up, and then the algorithms flag these stories from them. So when I have stories from Microsoft Start, I'm gonna have to start putting them in the comment section. I can't put them in the description because apparently Microsoft is working with Google to make sure they don't share our stories when we put links to MSN in the description. So keep that in mind. Probably not good to use either. So it says Russian President Vladimir Putin, and Putin said Russia is united as it faces challenges to its sovereignty by the colonial West. It's so funny to listen to all the white people try to differentiate themselves from one another. So it says, we shall overcome everything together, Putin said as he introduced his address, praising Russian citizens, businesses, troops in Ukraine for their efforts in defending the motherland. Oh, he led a minute's silence to honor Russia's armed forces, praising the colossal battlefield experience they had gained in 2 years of fighting Ukraine. And I don't know if y'all saw where Ukraine finally admitted how many troops they lost over the last 2 years. 31,000 people. 31,000 troops killed in Ukraine for nothing. So it says Russian President Vladimir Putin warned NATO countries, that includes America, of the danger of a nuclear conflict with Moscow if NATO troops were deployed on the ground in Ukraine. So Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said they would be if Ukraine lost. So I believe, based on the acknowledgement of the number of troops that are deceased now, they are going to put NATO troops on the ground. So this is news that's really important. We need to pay attention to. If NATO puts those troops on the ground, this war is gonna move like wildfire. So we gotta be ready. The West, the white nations, Gentiles, must realize that we also have weapons that can hit targets on their territory. That includes America. All this really threatens a conflict with the use of nuclear weapons and the destruction of civilization. Don't they get that? Putin said in his annual State of the Nation address Thursday, according to an EBU feed. The comments appear to be a direct response to French President Emmanuel Macron's suggestion earlier this week that European heads of state and Western officials, which would be America and Canada, and I guess the UK, who had met in Paris on Monday, had talked about the possibility of sending ground troops to Ukraine. So this was nobody talking about. So you heard about Fannie Willis. You heard about Trump, Biden, the Texas wildfires. But this right here is the real thing that you need to be paying attention to. So, since the French leader on Monday said that there was no consensus on the idea, but that it had not been ruled out, the comments have since sent NATO countries scrambling to deny they'd send troops to Ukraine, with Russia warning that such a deployment would prompt an inevitable Russia-NATO conflict. So this is something that we really need to pay attention to. In his speech to Russian lawmakers on Thursday, which lasted more than an hour, Putin accused the West of trying to drag Moscow into an arms race. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. These countries make money from war. Adding that Russia was ready for dialogue with the U.S. on strategic stability, but would not be forced into talks. He said Russia is united as it faces the threats of international terrorism and challenges to its sovereignty posed by the colonial West. No, they keep on talking about the colonial. Everybody is making sure they assign that title to America. So this is why it's very important for Black people to stay out of this shit. Excuse my French, but stay out of it. Be neutral. You're not colonial. You're not the West. This ain't your country. You're in captivity. So don't be signing up for nothing or accepting that you're colonial, because you're not. And Putin knows this. Prepare to solve the most difficult tasks. We shall overcome everything, Putin said as he introduced his address. He praised Russian citizens, industries, and businesses, along with the country's troops in Ukraine, for their efforts in defending the motherland. We have proven that we are prepared to solve the most difficult task and rise to the most difficult challenges, Putin said. For example, we have repelled the aggression of international terrorism. We have preserved the unity of the country. We have stopped it being torn apart. We have supported our brothers and sisters and their desire to be with Russia, he said. Our motherland is standing up for its sovereignty and security. Um, so I'm not going to read any more of this, but the other piece that is here is that France went out and told what the deal was. It was time. So it says Russia appears to be relishing the gaffe French President Emmanuel Macron made this week in suggesting that NATO countries discussed the possibility of Western ground troops. Western means us, our people, being deployed in Ukraine, saying such an eventuality could not be ruled out. Macron's suggestion was widely and very publicly rejected by NATO member countries Tuesday, leaving France looking isolated. Russian officials have commented widely on the situation, appearing to enjoy NATO's division and France's humiliation. So, I think France gave up the ghost and basically told what was coming before it was time. So, in any event, again, if we deploy troops to Ukraine through NATO, it's a done deal. I don't think Putin is going to tolerate that, and I think this is when the war will escalate. It's going to go beyond Ukraine. Now that Sweden and Finland have joined, I think Finland joined NATO already, I'm not sure. But anyway, those are the rich countries, so they have the money. So this is how NATO will have more weapons and how America will be able to fight without using its resources. So pay attention to this because this is huge. This is a story nobody's talking about, but this could definitely lead to America getting into some real trouble really soon. So pay attention to see if we put troops in Ukraine. All right, y'all. This is Marty K. Keep prepping, keep prepping, keep prepping. Pray, seek the Most High, obey those laws, statutes, and commandments, and keep watch. This is Marley K, and I'm out.